Oh, here I am flying solo. Nat's off dancing on some stripper pole at some members club or something. I don't know. Wait. Before you guys leave, stay here a second. We got something cool to talk about. All right. Anyways, we've ripped Nintendo for ages for the dumb shit that they've done, but we also praised them for what they've done well, off camera. However, the latest controversy not only has me confused on a moral standpoint, considering them a pretty notorious emulator freak, but as a litigious Nintendo has been behind several very prominent ROM sites being shut down, including sites that had already removed Nintendo's IPs from their downloadable catalog, all to, admittedly, legitimately protect their own beloved IPs. So, where does copyright begin? Where does fair use begin? And what about the preservation of video games that aren't seeing these virtual console re-releases? With me, I have Shen Yongo, fellow YouTuber and contributor to CCS forums.
Hello.
I have Minnesota Fats, aka Jake, who you may have heard on our numerous wildcards.
Damn right you have.
And we have, what the fuck are you?
Hi.
Here we have the one-eyed Wonder Weasel. I guess Samoan Cyclops, is that what you are?
Matt, where did you find a dick that can talk?
Well, especially now that Max is gone.
Oh, hey.
So, Nintendo's been closing down very prominent ROM sites, which have been argued that they help keep video game preservation alive, especially with games that aren't seeing re-releases. What are your guys' takes on the preservation of games and copyright?
Well, in the case of Nintendo, it's kind of funny because there is a possibility that Nintendo might have downloaded a Mario ROM themselves to resell to the public in one of their virtual stores. And also, I think this does highlight one thing about Nintendo. It does seem like they kind of refuse to modernize with the internet. I know a lot of people like to say, well, it's their copyright, they have a right to protect it. Well, that is kind of true. They can technically legally do that, but at the same time, do they really need to do so in order to protect their copyright?
It's I think it's more of an issue with how the copyright copyright law hasn't changed much in the past few decades. With the advent of the internet, that the idea of fair use has changed and evolved a lot since the original copyright laws that are still in place today have been. So it's kind of a little bit shady, you know?
Well, yeah, because copyright law, originally it was like you put out a intellectual property and you got 14 years worth of copyright law to basically reinforce that you are the owner of this and you can enjoy the profits of that thing. And then if you're still alive after 14 years, then you can reapply and get an extra 14 years or so. At least according to the one Kotaku article that I actually enjoyed reading lately, which is titled "In Defense of ROMs."
Wait, you found a Kotaku article that wasn't full of shit?
Yes, that actually wasn't bullshit, and it actually has quite a few interesting points. It's called "In Defense of ROMs: A Solution to Dying Games and Broken Copyright Laws" by Chris Kohler. So what's been going on with U.S. copyright is originally, like I said, 14 years, and then there's been copyright creep, which means, 14 became 28, then became 42, 56, life of the author plus 50 years, and currently it's life of the author plus 70 years. And the reason why this is happening is because corporations, and I'm not trying to get on a corporation
Disney!
Yes, exactly, Disney. I'll let you said Disney first. You can go ahead and just take that and run with it.
Yeah, it's Disney. But it's the biggest problem. Disney is the most corporate-minded out of all the big named, corporate business empires.
Conglomerates?
Yeah, conglomerates. That's a better
Mega
term.
corporations?
Exactly.
Evil
You
empires.
Blade Runner.
Every
Blade Runner
single
started the whole. Blade
Yeah.
Runner started the whole cyberpunk genre with equal parts of a bang and a thud. But when Blade Runner was since Blade Runner's come back into public consciousness, they presented us with these monolithic corporations like Tyrell Corp, and then Alien. Even before that, gave us Weyland Yutani. I did not expect that in real life the colossal
corporate overlords.
Yeah, the colossal corporate overlords would have names like Amazon and Walt Disney Pictures.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
when they do get as big as the British East India Company, and they start fashioning their own soldiers and their own warships, what do you think their logo is going to be? Is it just going to be like a big red flag with Mickey Mouse ears on it?
and a strategically placed little mustache.
Yeah.
It's not even like a fascist dictator or mustache like Stalin or Hitler. It's just like a curly Q mustache.
It's gonna be that episode of Black Mirror where the cartoon character wins the election.
I haven't seen Black Mirror, so
Yeah, you gotta check it out. It's I think it's like episode 6, season 1. But anyways, yes, Disney's one, and well, maybe not the one, but one of the major players in pushing copyrights further and further and further, because otherwise, most of their catalog would have been in the public domain by now. Films like Beauty and the Beast would have been public domain if it was only 14 years.
Well, the irony is that the movies like Beauty and the Beast all are based off of public domain properties.
Yeah, that's the problem. They're slowly with like you said, the copyright creep. I wouldn't be surprised that they found a way to make it so that if you're a big enough organization and your product based on a public domain property makes enough money per year, or it continues to make that per year, it would end up becoming your intellectual property. Like they could easily do that with any public domain thing and just do a quick cash grab in order to soak up all these other IPs and like keep them.
Mm-hmm. And especially with video games, where originally it was kind of a disposable medium in a lot of ways. The slew of NES games, 800 games in the catalog, 820, 840, something like that. Okay, how many of those games are actually being re-released on the Virtual Console?
Like,
not many.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very few. And granted, they're usually Nintendo's.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Leading into our next subject, the reason why why Nintendo shut down Emu Paradise finally, which even though it's been on their site for years, is because they wanted to promote the fact that they're basically giving away, well, not giving away, but like offering you to be able to play free NES games as part of their online service. It's not even like Virtual Console or anything. It's just doing it for free. There's really no incentive considering the online service isn't that great to begin with. Seriously, they only have peer-to-peer servers. They only have like dedicated for like a few certain titles like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart. The online service isn't that good to begin with. There's no incentive for Nintendo to do this.
Well, didn't Shen say earlier off camera that that Nintendo has always been kind of a dinosaur when it comes to new technology, as far as the internet goes?
Not just that. There's at the least amount there's the Pacific Ocean, and then there's 3 other continents dividing Western culture and business practices with the heartland of Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's the Pacific Ocean for sure.
Japan is especially very traditional when it comes to business, I think.
Yeah,
which is why certain Japanese companies tend to live in a bubble.
And we're all kind of shrinking away from not to play devil's advocate too hard here, because God knows I need to heave off on doing that so often. But Nintendo was also the company that brought video games back from the crash in '83.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
After Atari fucked up.
Yeah, that was It still amazes me to this day how a single bad movie license game was able to bring that crash in the first place. It honestly kind of reminds me.
It wasn't just E.T. E.T. was, I don't know, the blade of grass that broke the camel's back.
That is true.
It had started with like people were the idea of indie games is not a new one. People have been doing it since, I don't know, since the Commodore 64 hit the market.
That is true. The thing was, anybody could make a video game as long as they had access to a computer and any bit of software engineering knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing that happened was with the Atari 2600 not having lived through that era, luckily, was quality control. The market was completely flooded with absolute shit. I mean, you had like Pac-Man clones.
Custer's Revenge. Excuse me.
Custer's Revenge, yes.
Beat him and eat him.
Hey, that's on my top 5 favorite video games. Fuck you, man. But no, it was the oversaturation of absolute shit stuff, and we're kind of seeing something similar on Steam, but we'll leave that for another topic. But yeah, the reason why Nintendo really has to go all balls out in protecting their IPs is because that's just kind of how copyright protection, I hear, works. You have to defend your IPs, otherwise you could possibly lose it.
Yeah, it is. It's not just legally required, Laughing Man. It is. I don't want to say it's a constitutional directive, but considering that most copyright claims are handled by the Supreme Court,
at least in America.
At least in America, they're handled by the Supreme Court. It is damn near. It is as close as you can get to being a constitutional mandate. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite certain on all the legalese behind it, but you can get fined heavily for not enforcing copyright.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how copyright laws work in Japan, but I'm fairly certain that there is a little bit of overseas jurisdiction in certain areas, like certain places in certain regions would be allowed to use your IP regardless of whether you own it or not. In certain countries.
What do you think, Shin?
Well, to go to like another topic, like we talked about like how the Nintendo's new online service only has a limited number of NES titles. Like as Laughing Man said, there's like a lot of titles that aren't even available on these virtual stores anymore. Like not even on like the mini consoles like the SNES Mini or NES Mini. Like
a lot of niche titles are being kind of swept under the rug and forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. The archival of these obscure games are being jeopardized because of this.
It's like that comic of EA taking BioWare out into some field, and then BioWare sees the pile of corporations that EA has killed off over the years. It's kind of like that. But it's like it's not that there isn't a market for those like niche classics, because like I said, Nintendo single-handedly brought video games out of the '83 crash with stringent strictures for quality control. It's just that some of those games.
Well, if you ever played LJN, you know that's not true.
Yeah, it is. Well, touche.
Compared to Atari, it certainly is, though.
There's a reason why the AVGN made LGN his company boogeyman.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, an example of one of these obscure niche games I was going to bring up is a rather cult classic JRPG called Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is a sequel to two rail shooters that Sega made for the Sega Saturn back in the day. And the thing is, the Saturn wasn't really much of a hit. So, like, there was, like, only, like, about 30,000 copies of Panzer Dragoon ever sold. And when they tried to outsource to another company to make, like, a PC port, they lost the source code. So you can never see that game ported ever again.
Unless they can reverse engineer it, but even that's time and money they don't want to spend in it.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, like, to play this cult classic, either like drop like a few hundred or maybe even $1,000 on eBay to get this game, and buy a Sega Saturn along with that, or and pay all this money for like a game that's like only 15 to 20 hours long, or just emulate it.
Which leads to another problem. Nintendo doesn't really benefit this whole decision to wipe out all these ROMs. It only benefits scalpers who still own the original cartridges and discs that these games came from.
Yeah, even companies like Square Enix or Squaresoft whose original game creators, like for Final Fantasy, I believe it was 4 for Japan.
Iwanubi Saguchi.
Yeah, he said that even if Square released that, he doesn't see a dime of it. His job's done.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like the game companies are basically printing money off of what people have already created before them, and people who are importing things.
And that's like another problem entirely with rights issues for creators and publishers. That's still a very shady place that hasn't changed since the advent and the invention of video games, basically.
Well, it's a little bit different in Poland apparently because of the Witcher issue with the creator.
That's a good topic. That should
we should actually tackle that one later. But just to keep everyone in the loop, what happened was Poland law says that if you sell your property off or license it off or whatever for a fixed sum, and then the company makes way more money than you expected, you can get more royalties from them.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
But back on topic here. The one thing I've always considered is there's a game I really love and you can't find it anywhere. It's called Demon's Crest for the Super Nintendo. I mean, the graphics are beautiful, gameplay's tight. It's an amazing game.
Are we talking Chrono Cross tight or?
No, it's like Super Nintendo type. It's kind of like a roided up Mega Man with demons.
Ooh, that sounds like right up my alley. I love Mega Man.
It's
a
game crack.
Demons in a video game? Summon Jack Chick.
Someone called Joe Lieberman.
Hey, at least it doesn't have Edge in it.
But anyways, so this game by Capcom, right? Super Nintendo game, great game, crashed and bombed because no one was really interested into it until later when it found a cult audience through YouTube and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I have no idea how much it costs to buy a physical copy of this game, but I imagine it's not necessarily that cheap. But Capcom, from what I can see, has never re-released this digitally, this game. I could be wrong, but that's the last I've seen. So get this. For me to play this, I either have to buy a game from a scalper, which doesn't benefit the publisher, developer, anybody who was involved in the creation of it. It's just like secondhand shoes. The only person who gets paid is the person who sold it. I could either download it as a ROM and play it, and that's illegal. Or here's my legal option if Capcom doesn't re-release it. I can wait until it hits the public domain in the year 2088 and play it. Let that sink in. 2088 is when this game becomes public domain.
Well, hopefully by then we can all upload our consciousnesses to flash drives, and then it'll be no problem.
I just hope the Emperor comes out and turns us into think tanks. That's a 40K joke, everyone.
There's a fourth option where another company can swoop in and buy the property from them, but what's the odds of that happening?
As if Nintendo would even do that, even if the guy has the money they're willing to look for. Nintendo knows their IPs sell. They were not going to get rid of them.
Yeah, so it's a catch-22 in the entire thing, where either Nintendo enforces their copyright protection and prosecutes piracy. Or pirates, emulators, ROMs. It's basically a form of piracy. Either they prosecute these pirating sites, Emu Paradise was a big one, or
you have to sell off your firstborn in order to get one copy, maybe.
Right.
And then there's not even a chance that it'll work, because some asshole could get a plastic mold of a cartridge, or print the label onto the surface of some, compact, and then give it to you like that, and then you get ripped off, and now your kid's gone, and you got jack shit from it.
It's like a bootleg. Yeah. Which also is another thing. Bootleg archival is very dependent on emulator sites like this, and some of them might have been removed it in the in the crossbuyers because of this legal issue.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because 7 Grand Dad is an absolute masterpiece. I recommend people check it out. Because it's literally just the NES Flintstones game with Fred Flintstone replaced with Mario's head. But still, absolute masterpiece.
That sounds like a nightmare. Just the disembodied head of Plumber Mario running around in the Flintstones set.
That.
Well, wasn't it also the ROM hack community that helped spawn?
Ah, yes! Yes, the ROM hacks. Here's the thing. I got into emulation because of ROM hacks. That is also like a very niche community, but one that is very influential because it's basically the closest thing to bootlegs and ROM hacks are the first scene in the games industry where modding was a thing.
Oh yeah. Well, wasn't it also the ROM hack community that helped spawn Sonic Mania?
Yeah. There was a lot of the creators in Sonic Mania used to be people who modded the Sonic ROM, who made Sonic ROM hacks and mods and fan games and stuff.
Okay, so here's the gist of the story. Sega forgot how to make good Sonic games because all the Team Sonic left to go and work on
Sonic was never good.
Yeah, exactly. Just like how Castlevania starts at Symphony of the Night. But Sega kind of forgot what made Sonic games good, and they went after the wrong horse
with the gimmicks.
And then the remakes. So they basically threw up their hands and said,
Sonic 06.
Sonic.
Interspecies sex.
Sonic the Werehog. Sega threw up their hands and said, "Fine, you know what? If it's so easy to make a Sonic game, you assholes do it." And the guys behind Sonic Mania said, "Okay." And then Sonic Mania sold like hotcakes. Cue the VeggieTales tomato looking down in confusion.
You mean Bob?
Well, the funny thing about the Sonic Mania people is that I think the guy who is in charge of it, he also made a ROM version of the Sonic Genesis port for GBA, where he fixed all the issues that were wrong with that port. Because Sonic Genesis was regarded as one of the laziest ports ever made. Sega dropped the ball with that port from inconsistent frame rate, poorly remixed music, bad physics and bad detection. And the one person...
Wait, shit, I thought we were talking about Sonic, not Sonic 3D.
Well, not Sonic 3D, Sonic Genesis, it was
It's a joke.
GBA port. It was a... okay, well. As I was saying, it took one person to fix all these issues and release it as a ROM. And that guy went on to do a well-received mobile port of the first Sonic the Hedgehog as well as the second one, where the frame rate was a consistent 60 frames per second, and so on. Which does bring me to another point, even for games that are popular, that are included on these virtual stores, or maybe quote-unquote HD remasters, some of these ports tend to be lazy.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
They're cash grabs.
Talk off the Silent Hill 2 and 3 HD collection.
Oh, you mean with the boat lines that don't go anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
The Final Fantasy mobile ports.
Oh, yeah,
Jesus.
Final Fantasy VI mobile port, where, they made the graphics look uglier.
They made it look like they tried to upscale it, but all they did was make all the characters look like blobs.
Well, they redid all the graphics and made them look like blobs. That's the issue.
And now
Yeah.
and now after all those fixes, there's this glitch that will make the game unplayable.
Oh god, yes. That was awful.
Oh, yeah.
Or perhaps not
a game-breaking
let me walk that back.
glitch.
Not unplayable, unbootable. The glitch
Oh, yeah.
the glitch crashed the game. How the hell did that happen?
Because Square Enix is lazy when it comes to ports. Like, for instance, another example, Final Fantasy IX, they released a PC port and mobile port simultaneously, and I once tried to buy the PC port on Steam to kind of replay it, but it wouldn't launch, and I was wondering why. Which was when I looked up an article, and it turned out that what the quote-unquote PC port was actually just a mobile Android version slapped onto Steam, and it required, get this, an Android plugin to even play the thing.
Oh my fucking god, that's awful.
So basically, pay $20 for a freaking Android ROM, essentially.
So what you're basically saying, and I'm not trying to say that in that SJW kind of way, but the fans of these games are better preservers of the games than the actual fucking companies that published them.
Oh yeah.
Well, Laughing Man, you gotta remember, the fans are doing it for free. Companies have to pay.
Oh yeah.
What that just is, if you're going to have genuine preservation, it has to be out in the hands of the people, not a handful of corporations that may or may not lose source code, may or may make ports that they don't give a fuck about. I mean, you just look at the Silent Hill 2 and 3 remaster. They wanted to re-record all the audio, rewrite the dialogue. It's not preservation. It's almost like a bastardization of what it really was. It's not retaining the history. It's
well, and just like with the Final Fantasy 5 and 6 mobile ports, it's basically a George Lucas-esque special edition.
Yes, basically. And I don't have any more copies of the original Star Wars anymore. I've remastered them so many times.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you bastard. But then, even then, you have fans who have basically reconstructed the original Star Wars using the HD clips and the old stuff and remastered it themselves for free.
Yeah, it's like even remastered in HD and
yes, Blu-ray quality-ish. But I mean, that's just the issue is with the preservation. There's so many works of art that have been lost throughout history, movies, you name it. I mean, remember the movie Hugo about the one guy who was like one of the pioneers of film, and they used his negatives to like make like boot soles for World War I or World War II. I mean, this is lost art, and if you have these copyright protections with companies who are sitting on their properties, like again Demon's Crest, Capcom's not doing shit with that, so either I illegally pirate the game and play it, or I find a person to basically scalp it from, or I wait till the year 2088 for it to become legally downloadable. It's a really, really shit position for a consumer to be in.
Yeah, none of these practices that they do to enforce copyright are consumer friendly in the slightest. It deters some people from buying them because they're so passionate about rights issues that it affects the thing they want to buy.
Well, imagine, like, let's say I was to buy, say, like, I just was 12 right now. I want to buy a copy of Final Fantasy VII, for instance, right? And I got a shit port that crashed, that looked like, looked worse than usual. Imagine if Square Enix did a shit job of porting it, and it taints my opinion of that game because of a shit experience. And then you do that for long enough, and people aren't going to remember it as being a, quote, great game.
I feel like that's a similar situation.
Look what happened to the Halo Master Chief Collection.
Oh Jesus!
There's also
after 4 years, it took them 4 years to quote unquote fix all the bugs, and even then, bugs are still there. So they did jack shit with the update.
There's also Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, I bought a copy of that, and apparently it's a buggy piece of shit.
Yeah, the port for that on Steam is awful. And I actually played the original PS2 version. That game is fantastic, and it's and this port is going to end up tarnishing people's memories of it, or ruin their first experience with it because it wasn't.
And going back to HD remasters, like sometimes these HD remasters of say PS2 games for like the PlayStation 3. Because the PS2 games were made for a different resolution and TV lane, it ends up being like little graphical bugs that weren't in the original. Like in Ratchet and Clank, you have like eyelids disappearing, and you see stuff that was meant.
Well, you
to
see
be
that kind of thing in
off-screen.
Telltale games.
Oh yeah, you do.
Ooh.
Zing. But
Too
I just want
soon,
to kind of wrap
dude.
it up.
Too soon.
I just kind of want to wrap it up. We made some excellent points, I believe, about how basically copyright and copyright enforcement, they're becoming more and more anti-consumerist, because if you want to preserve these games, if you want to preserve these experiences and have fans who can preserve them or even improve on them in the case of things like Sonic Mania, you gotta throw us a bone here. I mean, granted, Nintendo has every right to protect their copyright, but for till the year 2088, I mean, give me a fucking break. Make more Mario games, profit off those. Fine, it's trademark, great. But the original Super Mario Brothers, imagine, that hell run for Super Mario Brothers where they kind of base that Super Mario Brothers Maker game out of those impossible levels and things. You can get
Kaizo?
more art out of
Super Mario
that one
Maker.
where that one where you make your own levels.
Yeah, I know that.
I mean, this was basically like people deconstructing the original game and making new art out of it, which is what the point of art is. So it's just a catch-22 where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So,
Yeah.
anyways, wow, I was hoping that we'd end on a joke here, but
Penis.
Yeah.
Is that a good enough joke?
no. If you've seen your Avatar, maybe, but
Yeah.
One-eyed monster. Come see the one-eyed monster for only 69 cents.
I swear to God, if he just unzips his pants and pops his dick out, I'm leaving.
Yeah, imagine if like Matt and Trey Parker did like a new South Park episode where like Kyle and Stan want to download a ROM for like some crappy old game that no one remembers, and the moment they download it, hordes of SWAT officers and like
it'd be the Nintendo Yakuza.
It's just the SWAT, but instead of it, the symbols saying SWAT, it's just the Nintendo logo.
Mario's mustache is trimmed down quite a bit.